Political parties scramble to meet INEC deadlines for submission of candidates' names. Governors across the country say they cannot afford to pay the new minimum wage being worked out between the federal government and labor unions. In international news, top U.S. general escapes Afghan attack. And in sports, NFF officials charged with $9.5 million fraud.
This is ANN News.
I am Lucy Adeyemi. The drop-dead date set by the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC is causing frenzy among political parties in the country. Many are now scrambling to meet those deadlines. Many party leaders and representatives were at the submission center in Abuja till late Thursday. Some of them blaming the size of the country and the cumbersome process involved for their delay in submitting the list of their candidates. INEC's deadline for submission of candidates' names for Presidential and National Assembly expired on Thursday. The parties have until November the 2nd to submit names for governorship and state assemblies candidates. As parties scramble to beat the deadline, a group of Igbo leaders in the APC in Lagos is promising the party it will deliver its group's votes in next year's elections. To achieve that aim, it has set up a new 10-man body of executives to pilot activities of Igbo groups it says could guarantee APC victory in Lagos. The group's leader, who is also the party's publicity secretary in Lagos State, Joe Igboke, announced this at a media briefing in Ikeja on Thursday. He said it is very important for the group to do this so that Igbos will be repositioned and refurbished in Lagos politics. The story is somewhat different in Ekiti State, where the Muslim community there has rejected the appointment so far made by Governor Kayode Fayemi. The state chapter of the National Council of Muslim Youth described the governor's appointment as lopsided and a grand plan to marginalize the Muslim community in the state. The group says the appointments are worrisome, unjust, condemnable, and unacceptable. They have asked the governor to ensure his future appointments include Muslims, since they constitute 40% of the state population. Now to a bread and butter issue, the new minimum wage. Governors across the country, all members of the Nigeria Governors Forum, say they are not opposed to the ongoing plans to approve a new minimum wage for workers, but they cannot afford it. In the interim, the governors say they are doing everything possible to ensure salary arrears owed by state are paid up. At the forum's meeting in Abuja earlier in the week, the governors met with the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Ayuba Waba, to find a common ground on how debtor states can pay off salary arrears owed. They would like to use the leftover funds from Paris Club refund, but the Labour Congress boss told journalists organized labor remains resolute in its quest to ensure workers get a new minimum wage. The Kaduna State government has imposed a 24-hour curfew in Kasuwa Magani community in Kajuru local government area of the state, following a bloody clash between Muslims and Christians in the community on Thursday evening. Government spokesman Samuel Ruwan says this curfew goes into immediate effect and is to curtail breakdown of law and order. An eyewitness says many people were killed and houses were burnt down when a young man was caught stealing in the market and was being beaten. Some youths in the same religious group with the suspected thief started attacking those who were beating him. A similar situation occurred in February when an alleged abduction and conversion of some Christian girls by Muslim boys turned a bloody fight. 15 persons were killed in that incident. The Senate has approved the establishment of a Science and Technology University in the Federal Capital Territory. Senator Philip Aduda, PDP member from the Federal Capital Territory, sponsored the bill for the establishment of the university. He told journalists after plenary that all was set for the takeoff of the university by next academic session. The senator said 500 hectares of land had already been provided for the university in Abaji Area Council of the FCT. He also said blocks of classrooms and equipment have also been put in place by the FCT administration. The outgoing chief executive officer and the incoming boss of Kiltech Company in Accra agree on one thing: that too many substandard products are finding their way into Nigeria. After 10 years of the harm, Ifeanyi Zodike will step down as CEO next week. He said the government policy on importation contributes to the hardship faced by Nigerian manufacturers. He blames some regulatory agencies for looking away as substandard products float the nation. Incoming CEO Ijoma Udonye said the government must encourage local producers by protecting them from activities of companies who import substandard products at a very cheap price. She calls on the government to encourage patronage of companies that employ 100% Nigerians. She said this would shore up to be able to pay more taxes and employ more Nigerians. The Lagos State House of Assembly has ordered private sector partnership operators in all the 20 local governments and 37 local council development areas of the state to immediately resume refuse collection and disposal. Governor Akinwumi Ambode has stopped their services when he introduced the Visionscape Sanitation Solution Company. After plenary on Thursday, where the lawmakers debated the state of sanitation in the state environment, House Assembly Speaker gave the order, saying the PSP operators should return to work. Obasa did not acknowledge the existence of Visionscape. He said the legislative arm of the government was not consulted before the executive approved its operation in the state. Retired police personnel in Cross River State are unhappy over the non-payment of their pensions. They have petitioned President Muhammadu Buhari and drummed up alleged fraudulent activities of police pension administrators. They also charged that those who received pension payments were grossly underpaid. Consumers in Bauchi State are speaking out against what they describe as contaminated water being supplied by the State Water and Sewage Corporation. They say the situation endangers public health. During a sensitization tour by the Rahama Women Development Program, funded by USAID, the community spokesperson listed other challenges as low water pressure, low duration of water supply for consumers, pipe blockage, pipe leakages, supply of muddy water, low frequency and unfulfilled promises by politicians to provide free water supply.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Adam, go and bring us your husband. Okay, hello baby.
We're in this together, okay? Can you hear me? Keep coming forward.
Wait, stop.
You okay, lean to your right. Keep walking down. Keep walking to the left. Yes.
You're almost here.
Keep going.
You are here. Wow, you did it.
I'm just so glad I didn't have to use my cane to do this.
And I am so glad no other man got you before me. Let me be your eyes.
We will never stop working to give you a network you can rely on so you can enjoy life's special moments. MTN, everywhere you go.
Shining our eyes on breaking news, whether in the east or in the west, with Al-Shabaab in Somalia and Boko Haram in Nigeria, with turbulence in the north and agitation in the south. Wherever you live in Nigeria, wherever news happens in Africa, we've got it covered. ANN News, connecting Africans in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Around Africa now. Hundreds of mostly young women have marched in Liberia's capital, Monrovia, to protest against the alleged rape of dozens of girls at a U.S.-backed charity school, the More Than Me Academy. The CEO of More Than Me, Katie Miller, had announced she would step aside after a report by ProPublica and Time magazine revealed the abuse. Protesters say girls are unprotected and there is a need to fix the system. They want the government to bring to justice all that are involved. The NGO had received more than $500,000 from the U.S. government. UK International Development Secretary Penny Mordaunt says teams of detectives will be deployed to regional hubs in Africa and Asia to help ensure that sexual predators do not get jobs with aid agencies. Mordaunt says global police agency Interpol will be involved in the project. The move comes after some aid workers were accused of sexually abusing women and children while on humanitarian missions in developing countries. The 5-year pilot is expected to cost $3 million, with the UK contributing almost $3 million. She added that the new Interpol project, named Operation Soteria after the Greek goddess of safety, will include deploying teams of specialists to strengthen criminal record checks and information sharing among the 192 members. Interpol Secretary General Jordan Stork says a critical part of Interpol's mission is to protect the most vulnerable members of the society from the dangerous. Ethiopian police say more than 1,000 youths that were arrested over political violence that broke out last month have been freed from the country's Tole military camp. They were released after completing what the authorities called training on the Ethiopian constitution, rule of law and nation building. The arrests were strongly condemned by rights group Amnesty International and social media users who said the indiscriminate detention of the youth threatened the human rights gains made since Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed took office in April. At least 28 persons died last month in clashes near the capital, Addis Ababa. Cameroon's Constitutional Court has rejected 18 petitions by opposition parties for lack of evidence. They were asking for a rerun of the October the 7th presidential election they claimed was marred by fraud. The poll was held in a tense atmosphere in the northwest and southwest regions where Anglophone separatists had vowed to disrupt the election. The main opposition party, SDF candidate Joshua Oshie, wanted the whole election cancelled on the grounds that voting did not take place in the English-speaking regions as a result of secessionist uprising there. Meanwhile, Cameroon's Constitutional Court says it is set to announce the results of the election. Algeria authorities have ordered the enforcement of a ban on civil servants from wearing at work full-face veils, as also called niqabs, for ease of identification. Prime Minister Ahmed Ouyahia has ordered regional government chiefs to implement the directive. Although most Algerian women don't wear the face veil, the report says the decision is likely to be criticized by the conservative minority in the country. Tunisia's defense ministry says a fighter jet crashed into the Mediterranean Sea during a joint exercise with Saudi forces. The drill is aimed at testing surveillance and air defense systems as well as improving the coordination of air operations. The F-5 jet disappeared from radar screens as it flew off the coast of Bizerte in northern Tunisia on Wednesday. Defense Ministry spokesperson Mohamed Serki says the pilot was unharmed and was rescued by a helicopter crew. 2 Italian helicopters had taken part in the search. When we return, we'll have international stories. A top U.S. general has escaped death in an Afghan attack. Stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
If you know fit go internet or follow for Twitter, you know fit snap photo send or get it photo send. Now because you dey use Palasa, your phone no dey answer. See me see wahala. My brother, go get smartphone, yeah. Drop that Palasa phone. Phone wey no go for your hand, yeah. Drop that Palasa phone. Phone wey no fit take selfie. Drop that Palasa phone. No be correct phone, yeah. Drop that Palasa phone.
Upgrade to a smartphone today and get double data for 6 months on any MTN data bundle you buy. Simply purchase a smartphone from any store, anywhere in Nigeria, or bring your current smartphone from any network. Insert your MTN SIM card to start enjoying your double data bonus. Offer is open to all new and existing MTN subscribers. Join the largest smartphone movement today.
Make it not for your hand, that's Palasa phone.
Welcome back. This is INEC News. On the foreign scene, top United States general in Afghanistan was the target of a deadly insider attack on Thursday in Kandahar that ended with deaths of most of the country's top security commanders. General Scott Miller escaped injury, but 3 Americans were hurt in the gun battle, which happened for approximately 1 hour. Reports say it was an inside attack by the Afghan commander's own guards. A Christian woman's fate hangs in the balance as Pakistan's Supreme Court prepares to announce whether she would be executed under the country's controversial blasphemy laws. The mother of 5 was convicted in 2010 for insinuating Islam's prophet Muhammad during an argument. She has remained on death row all this while as she appeals the case. Demonstrators took to the streets last week chanting, quote, "Hang infidel Asia," end quote. They were also demanding that judges uphold the death penalty for Asha Bibi. China's economy has grown at its lowest pace since its trade war with the U.S. began. The global financial crisis has also been affected. The world's second largest economy expanded by 6.5% in the quarter from July to September 2017. The National Bureau of Statistics says this represents the worst performance since 2009. The Bureau says this marks a slowdown from the 6.8% and 6.7% in the previous 2 quarters. This is expected to put pressure on Beijing leadership to act. When a 60-year-old Arizona man left home earlier this week, he believed he would succeed in finding gold. What he found was himself inside a 100-foot deep mine shaft in a remote desert area of the state. It took rescue teams several hours before pulling out John Waddell from the shaft on Wednesday night. The rescue team spent 5 hours just to pull him out from the bottom of the mine shaft. A series of allegations of sexual harassment and assault has prompted the resignation of an Indian government minister, the most prominent public figure named in the country's own Me Too movement, facing allegations of groping, assaulting and harassment from former female colleagues. MJ Akbar, Junior Minister for Foreign Affairs, said he has decided to resign and challenge what he labeled as false accusations. Stay with us. We'll be back after this short break.
MTN gives 2,000% bonus for reactivating your MTN SIM. That's right. If you haven't used your MTN SIM for 45 days or more, recharge now and get 2,000% bonus. That's right, 2,000% bonus for your first recharge of every month.
Whether in your house, at your office, on your phone or online, we are there. We have the facts behind the headlines. We cut to the chase with the news you really need. We cover every angle. We are the bigger, better news network. We are African News Network. ANN. Watch ANN News on MITV from a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is INEC News in Sports. 3 Nigeria Football Federation officials have been charged with fraud after allegedly diverting for personal use $9.5 million in FIFA grants. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission said in a statement that Christopher Andeke, Jafaru Fandana Rimanza, and Rajan Zaka allegedly committed the crime in 2015. The money was a grant given by FIFA for the development of football in Nigeria. The Gambian Football Federation have written a formal complaint to CAF over the eligibility of Togo's Adewale Olufade Olufade played for Togo as they drew 1-1 with Gambia in an Africa Cup of Nations qualifier earlier this month. The Gambia Football Federation protested that the player is Nigerian and does not meet any of the necessary criteria under FIFA's regulations to play for Togo. Well, that does it for us on INEC News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other stories, visit our website, innafrica.net. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at INEC Africa TV. I am Lucy Adeyemi. Have a relaxing weekend.